What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. And in today's video, I'm joined here by my buddy, The Big Rob Theory, to talk about Marvel's What If. I was thinking about doing episodic reviews for this one, but just chose not to and decided to just enjoy them week by week. And I think that was the right decision to make. With that said, I'm going to try to maybe avoid jumping into massive spoilers because I do want to take into account that there's probably a lot of people who have seen maybe glimpses of the show. Maybe they've seen like little, posters for certain episodes, but maybe they don't know what it's all about. Maybe they've never seen it. Maybe they haven't gotten around to it. Maybe they haven't finished. Whatever the case may be, there are some huge implications, I think, from this show to what we may possibly see one day in the MCU movies. But before we get into all that, Big Rob Theory, how are you doing, my friend?
Doing great, man. Doing great, old chap, old friend of mine, buddy, old pal. How are you?
doing swell, my friend.
I'll also say, there's a lot of people I know of actually at work who are stoked. I mean, stoked for this, and they haven't even touched it. They're like, oh, they're one of those people that are that they say, it's great that it comes out every week, but I want to wait till it's all out so that they can binge it, which I get that completely. So
I get that, but honestly, I do enjoy the weekly release.
Yeah, I don't know what y'all are doing. You should be watching this week by week. But
I feel like it really allows, especially like with the and that's just how it was back in the day, but it really allows with like, the Mandalorian and the Marvel shows that they've been doing and whatever else you watch on Disney Plus, even back in the day I did, maybe like, I don't know, well, sometime last year I did a review for Animal Kingdom's like documentary show that they did, and my fiance and I were watching it, and yeah, we watched it week by week, and it was like a nice kind of thing to have every week, and you get to kind of like ponder those episodes, sit on them, and then kind of have that anticipation till next week. But yeah, there's a lot of people like that, or a lot of people who love Marvel, but they kind of are turned off by animation, and so they just don't watch it. So yeah, what is What If? What If is based on a comic book series of the same name, where you take some ridiculous premise and you say, what if this? What if the Hulk was Spider-Man? You know what I mean? It's something kind of silly and over the top like that. It takes place in an alternate universe. You don't have to worry about it being a part of the canon, the storyline, and you can just kind of have a lot of fun with it. And I owned a couple of What If comics when I was a kid, and then I would read some maybe like, I don't know, compilation packs, like graphic novel kind of things, or just more comics when I would go to bookstores. And yeah, I was really excited when this show was coming out. And ultimately, my thoughts on the season, the first season, was that it was great. I love the animation style.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. We watched it together every week. And yeah, I got to say, overall, I think that this show knocked it out of the park. It was a lot of fun. It was very, very visually cool. It's a kind of mix of 2D and 3D animation, giving it this like very cel shade, almost anime-esque kind of look to it. And yes, 9 episodes, and I gotta say, I had a fun time with this show. With what Marvel has been putting out, this is the first ever animated Marvel Studio show. Obviously, there's been a bajillion Marvel-related animated shows, but this is the first ever animated show to come out of Marvel Studios, and yeah, it's great. So you have 9 episodes that have these what if concepts, and what's really cool about this show is that majority of the characters that we're seeing from the movies here are played by the returning cast member from the movies.
That's
now, there
right.
are certain actors that real quick, there are certain actors that did not return for their roles, like Dave Bautista for Drax. I believe Chris Evans did not return to play Captain America. However, some of these voice actors that they got to replace him were pretty good. Some of them were very noticeable that it was not them, but it was cool to have this cast return. What's your general thoughts on the season overall, man?
Honestly, amazing. And I know in my reviews I say that a lot of movies are amazing because I love movies. And this, I think, I get where some people they say they don't like animation. I get it. I mean, I don't, but I do. And it's just the way how they did this series with the animation. He said it just a little bit ago, the 2D and 3D blend.
Yeah.
The way how it looks when they're fighting, the fluidity of it, everything going into the beauty of animating these characters was just a great journey, and there's several different episodes in particular that had me like glued to the screen. There's some that still good, still good. But I was like, okay, that was okay. Still liked it because it's Marvel and it's beautifully done. But there are some episodes in this series where I'm just like, holy shit, this is great. So, overall, I have to say I really have no issues with What If. The only thing I wish is that maybe the episodes were a little longer, so we got more, or the season was longer, But other than that, it was so fun to just watch this because I had never really read the What If comics. I knew that they existed, but I never got the chance to like get any myself or read any myself.
Yeah.
But I knew about some of the concepts, So the whole zombie one, like I knew that there was a zombie one. That's not really a spoiler for anybody. There's a poster about it, and
yeah.
trailers. So don't worry, we're good. But yeah, I knew about that because there was, you had said that to me, I think, a while back too. I mean, this was years ago, and then I'd seen something in passing about that. So it's great. It is great.
No, I think they did a great job of taking that concept from the comic books and just leaning in and making a really fun series. And again, being able to have those cast members from the movies really makes it that much better. And as we both have highlighted, the animation is just top notch for this show. I've had a lot of fun just watching how they animate these characters and the big over the top fun action. We're big fans of anime, so there is that element there. And I think the way that they utilized the 2D, 3D animation kind of blend was really, really solid. So yeah, what I'll say is we're going to move into probably a little bit more spoiler territory as we just do a quick wrap up of our thoughts of the individual episodes. But I will say right now, probably my favorite episodes of the series were episodes 3, 8, and 9. So the last two, and then the third one, or I'm sorry, not the third one, the second one. So 2, 8, and 9 are my favorite episodes. Second one being the one with T'Challa being Star-Lord, which we'll get into, and then the last two with this Vision Ultron character. Do you have any favorite episodes, maybe top 3 that you want to list out?
Man, the top 3. I don't want to make my top 3 similar because I love all 3 of those episodes too.
I mean, if they're the same, they're the same.
But no, you gotta be different.
Yeah, gotta.
No, I think the one where all the Avengers got murked, that one was just.
So we're moving into spoiler territory now.
Lo siento. So I think that's the fourth. The fourth one?
That's the third episode.
Okay, so it's the third episode, the 8th and 9th episode. I mean, if I did a top 5, I mean, might as well just say the whole series.
Yeah,
but
it's great.
Yeah, so for me, just to kind of spice it up, man, the third one, the 8th and 9th one, because I'm sorry, Ultron Vision is just
OP as fuck.
like
OP
literally
as fuck.
just like what?
Honestly.
Jeez.
So speaking on that, again, if you have not seen What If, obviously we started touching on a little bit of spoiler stuff and you're watching this. We are going to get into a little bit more spoilery stuff. Nothing too crazy. I don't want this video to be overly long. Just going to give our thoughts on the individual episodes and then just kind of wrap this up. But what I will say is that I think if you're on the fence about watching this show, I think that it's a great show. It's got awesome animation. It definitely leans into that big over-the-top fun action, the comedy, the humor, the chemistry that you expect from Marvel-related stuff, especially the MCU. And I think overall it's just like a fun, different thing to be able to have under the MCU banner. To be able to see an animated show that is based on the actors from the movies, I think is awesome. You know, it's something that we never really have had in the past. You know what I mean? Like whenever anybody watches this series in the future, it's always going to be attached to those live action versions of these characters. You know, so let's go ahead and get into the first episode. What if Captain Carter what's the name of the episode? What if Captain Carter were the first Avenger? So essentially, what if it was Captain Carter instead of Captain America? This is the episode where we see that Peggy Carter ends up getting the super soldier serum instead of Steve Rogers. And yeah, it's essentially a retelling of Captain America, the First Avenger, but with Haley Atwell as our hero. You know, it's Captain Carter instead of Captain America. A great, strong start to the series. Looking back at this point, though, probably one of my weaker episodes of the season, probably the weakest episode of the season for me. But I guess that's a great way to start, right? Like, start it off with a good episode that, you know, it gets better from there. And I think ultimately that's what this episode was. It was a good, fun time, but I think it's the one that's the most safe in terms that it's literally just retelling the First Avenger. What are your thoughts on that first episode?
I really liked what they did, that she became, you know, Captain Britain, if you will, you know, but still obviously Captain America, but just, you know.
Captain Carter.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Captain Carter. But you get what I'm saying because she was British and everything.
Yeah.
But I'd have to agree. I actually liked the episode a little bit more than you did.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know what it is. I'm a big fan of seeing female-led roles, especially where like the male was originally, and just kind of giving a retelling based on like a female leading it, because just to get that like the male and female aspect of it, I love it. Like,
Would you say that it's one of the weakest episodes, or would you say that you think it's one of the better episodes?
It's one of the weaker episodes, but when I say one of the weaker episodes,
It's all good. They're all good.
guys,
All good.
it's not that it's like bored. No, it's just like, ooh, okay. But then when you get to the other episodes, you're like, okay. This is why this is the one of the weakest. But no, still a great episode. Love what they did. Love what they did with Steve too, especially because he didn't take the super soldier serum. But what happened with him, I'm not going to get into. I don't know if you are, but just to kind of leave some things to the mind.
We'll leave some things open in terms of not getting deep into spoilers. It's tough now to completely talk about some of these episodes, especially later in the season that we get. But we'll try to breeze over the basic concept of some of these for anybody who's just still watching away and is like, I don't care about this show. But any final thoughts on that one? I'm pretty done.
I'm pretty done on that, but I'm gonna have to revise my favorite episodes after we do this.
All right, go ahead. Let's just do it now.
Yeah, as I just saw the fourth episode title, I think it's 4, 8, and 9 for me.
4 is a good one too.
Yeah, and the 4 is a great one for me, just because we'll get to it.
All right, well, let's go on to number 2, and that is what if T'Challa was Star-Lord. So in this one, it's just an alternate history of instead of the Ravengers and Yondu picking up, Star-Lord, the one that, at least the Star-Lord that we know, Chris Pratt's version of the character, Peter Quill. He ends up picking up T'Challa from Wakanda, and I was about to say Wakanda becomes fucking Star-Lord, but T'Challa becomes Star-Lord, and so. Yeah, it's this very cool kind of retelling almost of Guardians of the Galaxy, but also very new. This is where the series really starts to just do something very different, and we see characters in completely different places than we last saw them. And the big villain of this episode is the Collector, who's super buff in this episode. He's like crazy buff. And one thing that you have to mention about this is Chadwick Boseman. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is going to be his final performance that's coming out. He actually does reprise his role as T'Challa in multiple episodes in the season, and so that was really great to be able to hear him as T'Challa once again. Whether this is his last performance that's going to come out or not overall, it's definitely the last one we'll hear of him as T'Challa. So, yeah, definitely a really sad thing. But like I said, one of my favorite episodes, I said 2, 8, 9. I think that this, without a doubt, was one of the coolest episodes. And I just did a lot of really cool, fun things visually. And it took the what if concept to that next level that I wanted to see. What are your thoughts on that second episode?
First of all, rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. I'm still blown away that happened. And seeing all the videos come out now about him, like at an awards ceremony, falling asleep. And Paul Bettany's like, you okay? Not like, wake up, like, okay, like he knew. It's just really sad. But let's get back to what if. This episode was really, really amazing, and one of the things for me was it was also emotional for me because personally, I love. Excuse me. Sorry, I guess I didn't hit puberty yet. I really love this episode because it really touched my heart because I love Black Panther. Obviously, he's not Black Panther in this, but I love Black Panther because from when I was younger, I loved the Black Panther comics, and I loved the idea behind Black Panther. And Chadwick Boseman really set the tone for Black people on the big screen. And it's not just because I'm Black why I'm saying that. It's just that's just the truth. He brought such a different vibe to this character that he is just loved as a human being. And this episode, it is a little bit of, it was emotional for me closer to the end. It wasn't that bad. It was just like a kind of moment,
And they end it with the in memory of Chadwick Boseman thing. So you go from this really fun episode to this obviously very real life moment of recognizing that we're never going to see this man as this character or as any character ever again. Yeah.
So, overall, love that episode. It is definitely a huge step up from the first one. Like, the first one would be, like, right here. The second one's, like, right here, So, it was really good. Really, really good.
Yeah, a lot of fun. I'm glad you enjoyed it as well. Just such a great episode. And like I said, one of my favorites. Moving on to the next episode, which I liked. Robert said earlier that it was one of his favorites. So if it's not in your top 3 anymore, it's at least, I'm assuming, top 4. And it's one of probably my least favorite of the season. I think it's one of the more forgettable ones. But I do still enjoy it. Again, enjoy them all. It's what if the world lost its mightiest heroes. And the basic premise, without getting too far into it, is the Avengers all get taken out, as he said earlier. What if the Avengers got murked essentially. And yeah, I found this episode to be cool. It's kind of a different retelling of the first Avengers movie, kind of taking place in that like small window of time between like I think the Incredible Hulk and Iron Man 2 and the different movies that were happening around that point. The first Thor movie, it's like showing the various events of how they were supposed to all come together, but things just don't go the way they were supposed to go, and Loki ends up coming. And yeah, this was a cool, fun episode. Anything, I don't really have too much to say on this one. Like, that's kind of my issue with this movie. I don't have an abundance to say on it. Not this movie, this episode. What about you?
Yeah, that's also kind of what I was gonna get at. It's just I liked it. I did like it. It was just interesting to see that telling. I mean, I've thought about it for years. What would have happened if Loki actually came and won?
Yeah.
And we kind of get a taste of that. So there's not really much to say about this. It's very action packed, of course, and it's really cool. It's a really cool concept, and I like what they did at the end to show what actually happened to the Avengers, like who actually was responsible.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a cool watch. Yeah, it's definitely, as I've been rethinking about what has happened in the episode and where we are now with the series, it's not on the lower tier for me, but I could see for other people that it would be on the lower tier. So yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely lower tier for me, but still a good episode. All right, so on to the next episode, episode 4, which he mentioned is probably in his top 3 now, probably in my top 4. With being my number 4 spot, but a really good episode. What if Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands? Essentially showing us Christine, Rachel McAdams' character from Doctor Strange, dying in the car accident that would obviously famously destroy his hands. But it's a different take on the situation. He tries a million different times to keep her alive via his power, and realizes that every time he tries to do it, he's just making it worse. The universe is starting to collapse, and we start to see this slow, dark descent into madness that Doctor Strange goes into, and there's a whole just visual montage of insanity that's going on in there, showing his power level to the next level. Love the episode. Thought it was great. Any thoughts?
Just some quick ones. It is amazing to see what happens with Doctor Strange and how they went in this direction. As he said, it's just visually striking to the T about what happens in this episode. And yeah, I definitely changed my top 3 because my top 3 is 8, 9, and 4. Because this episode, it just goes to show not only how fragile life is, but how sometimes
Nothing you can do.
There's literally nothing you can do. With all the power in the world, there's still nothing you can do when something's fixed. So, great episode. Very great episode. And I think that anybody who watches it should really, truly watch it. Like, watch all the episodes, but really just dive into this one because that's why I really like it, because it's just different. The way how, time is used and what happens, and you, again, show sometimes there's nothing you can do. A lot of times there's nothing you can do, especially us as humans. So.
Yeah, that's true. 100%. Yeah. I love that episode. Thought it to be a really good time. And the animation was just killer in this episode. Moving on to the next episode, What If Zombies? So What If Zombies is essentially, what if zombies? What if the whole world, including our mightiest heroes, all became zombies? And this is a funny over-the-top episode. Anybody who's familiar with Marvel Zombies, there's graphic novels, comic books, it's just like a cool, different alternate universe kind of thing that has been released on many occasions. And this is a cool, fun episode that just, we get to see all of our heroes with their powers as zombies, which kind of led to some pretty cool visuals. I'm a huge fan of zombies in general, and so being able to just see a cool Marvel-centric episode that's on that was great. We have a bunch of our characters from the movies that are actually still surviving the zombie apocalypse, with Spider-Man being kind of at the front of that, wearing the Doctor Strange cape, so we get to see Spider-Man with the Doctor Strange cape. And this is just a cool, action-packed, very visually cool, different episode. Thoughts?
Just some quick ones. I love the idea behind zombies. So I was really looking forward to this one. Seeing some of the Avengers, or majority of the Avengers, as zombies is insane. So I hope you enjoyed as much as we did.
Yeah.
That's about it. There's not much to really tell when it comes to this one. It's just mass mayhem.
Yeah, it's just zombies. It's zombies. It's a good fun time, and I think that's ultimately how I feel about all of these. It's like good fun time. Now moving into the next episode, probably one of my least favorites again. What if Killmonger rescued Tony Stark? So this is like a different interpretation of the first Iron Man movie, where when everything that's going crazy at the beginning, where obviously the big event that ends up leaving him in a cave and ends up making him become Iron Man. Instead, he's actually rescued by Killmonger from Black Panther, played by Michael B. Jordan, who did come back to voice the role. And yeah, this is a cool, fun episode. I think when I think of the whole lineup of episodes, probably again right there with Captain Carter along some of the more forgettable, as well as the one with all the Avengers dying. Yeah, I liked this episode. Wasn't crazy about it, but I liked it. Thoughts?
Fun episode. Wasn't the best, but also wasn't the worst. And none of these episodes are really bad. It was on the lower tier, as you said. So it's on the same level as Captain Carter. It was nice to see that different retelling of the first Iron Man movie, seeing Tony Stark not actually go through what he went through.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. I don't want to say too much about it, but it was good. I had a good time with it.
Yeah, for sure. And then the next episode is What If Thor Were an Only Child? And this is just a silly, good, fun episode. Essentially, it's just Thor coming to Earth and having a huge party, inviting Loki, who at this point is a frost giant because everything that we know never really happened. So now him and Loki are just kind of, they call each other brothers from another mother. And yeah, this is just like a big, goofy episode that leans very much into that very silly humor that they've been giving Thor a lot more in the last few years. So yeah, quick thoughts on that one. Good fun. I thought it was a pretty good time, and yeah, just a big party episode essentially. What about you, man?
You call my mom?
Yeah, exactly.
That's not even really that big of a spoiler, but it's just
at this
funny.
point we're beyond spoilers.
It's a silly episode, honestly. There's nothing really truly what's it called, great that happens in this episode.
Yeah.
Nothing really returns from this episode. I can just tell you that.
The main thing is that the episode ends, if I'm not mistaken, with the hint of what the next episode is, where we see Ultron, Ultron Vision hybrid with all of the Infinity Stones. We're going to get into that in just one moment and jump straight into heavy spoilers for the implications of the future. But that's the only real thing about that episode that has like a real, like at the very end of that episode is it hints at that. Sorry. Is the only time that they've actually connected the episodes up to this point. It was the first time that they had we already knew that was going to be the next episode. So it was the first time that they actually like hinted at another episode. We're like, oh snap, these are all supposed to be taking place in different universes altogether. So what's happening here? Any final thoughts on episode 7 before we move on to the last two?
No, that I was actually impressed with the way how they incorporated that at the end, because the whole episode was cheesy, goofballish, whatever, party, let's party, bruh. Yeah. And then, at the end you get that and you're just like, well, can it be next week already? Like, what can you release the episode like now? Because that is just great.
So. No, they really did kill it with this show. And let's just combine our thoughts on episode 8 and 9. Mm-hmm. What if Ultron won, and what if the Watcher broke his oath? We should also mention, have not talked about the Watcher. So the basic premise of this whole show, outside of what we've already talked about, is that this is all happening via the multiverse. And the person who is narrating this whole show for us is the Watcher, played by Jeffrey Wright, which he's just phenomenal in the role, has that great voice that fits the character. And really thoroughly enjoyed the Watcher. Being able to see the Watcher. We've seen the Watcher in a post-credit scene, in a little quick moment in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I believe. But that's about it. And so, or at least, that species of the Watchers. So very much looking forward to seeing them tap into maybe a live action version of the Watcher and kind of get more of that. But yeah, the whole basic premise is that he's watching the multiverse. He's watching all these things happen like a show, almost like a TV show, and he wants to interfere at times, but he can't, because that's his whole thing. Leading into the title of the 9th episode and the final episode, What If the Watcher broke his oath. So the 8th episode is What If Ultron won? And so essentially it is just an episode where Ultron wins and the Avengers lose, and he does end up getting to fuse his Ultron body with the Vision body, and he also comes in contact with Thanos and splits him directly in half like a fucking like a hoagie, splices him in half, takes the fucking Infinity Stones, and now we have this over the top, incredibly strong, be able to move through dimensions version of Vision and Ultron that is just overpowered beyond belief. And then in the final episode, we see that the Watcher actually goes and finds every hero from every individual episode that we had seen up to this point, brings them all together for like an Avengers style thing, and then they all fight this Ultron Vision hybrid with the Infinity Stones. And so I thought it was cool to be able to have a whole season that you think is going to be these individual fun episodes, which they are for the most part, and then have, this moment at the end where the Watcher's like, I need all of you guys to help me fix this problem in the multiverse. It's not necessarily what he does, it's against his code, but he does it, and it leads for two really great, fun, action-packed episodes that were just good, silly, over the top, and just fun. Good Marvel fun, and left me excited for what they're gonna do with the movies. It pretty much told me watching this that this is within the same canon, I guess you could say, of the MCU. It takes place in the multiverse, right? So if they ever wanted to pull from something like this, they could. And
They really could, and they
yeah,
might.
I'll just go ahead and say I loved these last two episodes, and I'll wrap up my thoughts by saying that I am really excited for the next season. What are your thoughts on those last two episodes?
Honestly, I was just dumbfounded because I thought about that before, especially during Age of Ultron. Like, what if Ultron just actually succeeded in getting that body, the hybrid body? That's exactly what would have happened.
Insanity.
Exactly what would have happened. Complete and utter chaos. I love these two episodes and the fact that the Watcher actually finally intervened, because I was like, okay, at some point this man is gonna have to, because something's gonna happen, but what is it?
Yeah.
And that's what it took, And I love that. I'm not gonna say everything about it, but
Yeah.
there's one thing that happens in this where he's like, no, Stark, not you. And for some reason that just really stuck with me, because it's like he's the one who started everything, So the fact that he in another universe is like, nope, not you,
bud.
Even though he had the Hulkbuster suit and everything, it's just, no, not you. I don't know why. I know that's like kind of cheesy, and it's not.
Hey man,
really
whatever
that
sticks
important,
with you, man.
but it just stuck with me because it's like, especially because it involved the Infinity Stones and what happened in Infinity War and everything. It's like, of all people that you don't need him. That's crazy to me. So these two episodes, really well written, really well done. Anyone who isn't watching this, I don't know what you're doing.
Couldn't agree more. I think that this is a great series, and if you have not watched this first season, you got to jump on it now, because I believe season 2 is coming, and overall, I am excited. So, this is going on way longer than I anticipated initially, but a big thanks to you guys for watching. If you watched up to this point, did you enjoy the show? Did you not like the show? Please leave a comment down below, and you guys can find the link to my guest, the Big Rob Theory, down below in the description box. Go give him some love. Let him know I sent you. But for now, I'll go ahead and say goodbye. I don't know what I was going to say there, so I kind of elongated what I was going to say. But I'll go ahead and say goodbye, and hope you guys have a nice day. Any final thoughts?
Love you guys. Good vibes and love and energy.
Yeah, what he said. Bye-bye.